What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about, I guess, kind of where AD carries actually fit into Season 6. We're over halfway through it now, and it's pretty different to what we're usually seeing. This is actually going to be two things together. So the general trend of what makes an overpowered AD carry in Season 6, and also about Riot's problem AD carry. The AD that they don't really know what to do with anymore, and is probably going to get a rework eventually. Maybe she's going to be the new Yorick. By the way, before we start, remember there are two giveaways going on at the moment. The Steel Series one for a whole setup, and my one for a bunch of RP cards and two Steel Series headsets. Both links are going to be down below. So let's talk about the problem AD first, and then go into just the general trend of overpowered ADs afterwards. So we are unfortunately, of course, talking about Kalista, once the queen of lane control, dominating practically any lane phase and one of the most popular AD carries. She's now practically garbage for most of us. I used to play a lot of Kalista, by the way. She was one of my most played, and to show you this properly, I went back to the Season 5 World Championships. I looked at the quarterfinals, semis, and finals to see how often she was picked. Kalista was picked in 9 games and also banned in 9, so that's 18 games out of 24 she was included in one way or the other. In both semi-finals, there was only one game where she wasn't picked or banned. She also had a 100% win rate when played, and in the finals she was banned in all 4 games. Honestly, she was by far the most popular AD carry at the tournament, arguably the best AD carry in Season 5, so how do you go from that to one of the worst in Season 6? I'm actually not exaggerating about being the worst either, sadly. These are the win rates over the past month for each ELO bracket in Europe West that I pulled from op.gg. For almost all of us, this is what she looks like right now in bronze, silver, gold, plat, and diamond, and there are only 131 champions in the game, by the way, and she is really close to the bottom. There are actually only 2 brackets that she has a positive win rate in, and actually she has a really good win rate in these. So there we have the problem. Riot have turned Kalista into a champion that is most successful when a master or challenger level player is playing her in a high level game surrounded by other exceptionally good players. Kalista is pretty unique anyway, right, with how much she relies on a support for damage with her W and the ultimate literally pulling them in as well. That kind of innately makes her better when playing with a better support, and I think that's kind of where Riot messed up. League is balanced around 2 things: our normal and ranked games for 99% of the player base, and the other 0.1%, probably actually 0.01% at the very high ELO and the LCS. These are 2 completely different games, to be honest, and Kalista excelled in one, the LCS, but didn't reach that kind of same level in our games. She was still effective for us, but it was because there was a lot we could do on our own. We didn't have to rely on our support. This is why Kalista is a problem champion for Riot right now. They cannot balance her for both like most champions. They designed her to be better surrounded by better players and highly mechanical, so strong when played by a better player. You just can't balance a champion like that to still be effective at lower ranks and not be overpowered in the LCS. Now, she was actually still a powerhouse in the early Season 6, right? But in patch 6.6, which was March time this year, they decided to balance her for the LCS and in turn fuck her over for the 99% of players. They reduced her attack speed per level, her base attack speed, but added an effect that gave her more when she's near her O-Swan, so near her support. They also halved her W proc damage. At higher level play or with a pre-made support, this is not going to be the end of the world. The support stays near you more, they are more careful not to die, and basically you are a team, a duo. The 2 of you stick together constantly and you're still going to be very strong. The thing is, that just does not happen at lower ranks. Even at Diamond, that does not happen at all. Supports want to roam and impact the map. They base at different times. You want to farm side lane, supports will often dive into the fights and leave you at the back, or they'll just dive in and die. If any of these things happen, then your damage output is massively reduced, your kiting is worse, and let's be honest, because there are so many reasons a support would leave you alone, at least one of those things is likely going to happen. That change was 4 months ago, and Riot haven't even mentioned her at all since. This is kind of why I think she's sidelined now like Yorick. Her champion design was innovative and exciting, but fundamentally it doesn't work in both competitive and casual environments. The problem now is that if they actually buff her, if they change her back so we can use her, so we don't have to rely on our support as much, then pro players will pick her back up and they'll start crushing games again. Even in her weakened state now, she is fine in the hands of a pro player surrounded by pro teammates. That is the issue. She doesn't necessarily need a buff for those players, really. Even just making her average for us would make her overpowered for them. So that then leaves us with one option, really, a rework. If you can't buff a champion but they aren't effective or rewarding to play, then you aren't really left with many options. I honestly love Kalista, and I just really hope they don't leave her for years like they did with Yorick, not knowing what they want to do with her. Let me just say though, you can still win games with Kalista. Don't let this put you off playing her at all. She's still extremely strong in the lane phase, and it's also not just these nerfs. Season 6 in general has changed how we look at the AD carry role. This is actually the second part of the video. So what actually makes an overpowered AD in Season 6, and why is it different to Season 5? To show you why this is different from Season 5, like if we look at Season 5 Worlds again, the quarters, semis, and finals, these were the ADs played. So Kalista was the most popular, Jinx, Sivir, Tristana, Tristana, Ashe, and Caitlyn. Now, out of those 44 picks, though, 30 are carry picks, as in their main job was to supply damage to kill everything. This was before Caitlyn's trap rework as well, by the way. Now, in Season 6, we have a lot more variety. I think you can actually play anything right now and do well, win the game, but there is a certain type of AD that has sprung up right to the top, utility ADs. These are going to be the AD carries that aren't just there to kill people, they're designed to help their team kill things as well as bring some damage. They are versatile, they can step up if needed, but they can let others carry just as well. That is a really big difference to what we normally have. AD carries were the glory players, right? The ones who got all the kills, they did the damage, and in a way your team was there to help you do that, to let you carry. That's not how it works anymore. Your teammates are not your bitches. They cannot just run around looking after you. League is way more of a team game, and a pure damage is not going to be enough to just carry a game unless you are a mechanical god. I actually also want to add a couple of other things on. The first utility one is survival. Basically being independent. The game isn't about peel and protection as much now, so you need to stay alive yourself. The other thing is how much damage and impact you can actually have early into a game now. The lane phase means a lot more. There are more early fights, and you can't just sit back and wait for late game as an AD carry anymore. So those are the three things: utility, staying safe, and early impact. If we just take a look at the AD carries this season at the moment, like the best ones. So Ashe, you have the arrow to engage, you have a slow, you can also kite as well, which keeps you safe. For Jhin, you have this root, you have this slow, the long range damage, and a ton of damage, honestly. Sivir, your ultimate to kite and engage fights. Caitlyn, your traps actually provide a lot of utility now, which has kind of increased her in the power rankings. You have a lot of earlier damage with that max as well, plus you can stay safe. Ezreal and Lucian are very popular. Ezreal, you have the slow with the blue build, you can keep yourself safe, which is why one of the reasons why he's so popular anyway. But Lucian doesn't have as much utility, but he can stay safe. And remember, when he was super popular, it was because he had way too much damage. Misfortune and Twitch do not play like an AD carry, so they are a little bit different. Misfortune has a lot of teamfight damage with her ultimate. She's basically an ability caster, kind of like an AD version of a mid laner. Twitch as well is rising to the top because of his assassin playstyle, so he has a lot of high impact very early into the game, which is different to any other AD carry. Finally, the other 6 mainstream AD carries are pure damage. So Jinx actually is doing very well. You have a ton of damage though in this kind of meta. You don't have much utility, but you have your passive to stay safe in team fights and very high range to stay safe as well. Kog'Maw is a bit different because you have your turret form and on hit damage, right? That's just kind of a different source of damage, to be honest. And Draven is a different AD carry entirely. Always different though, and he relies on the player being good. The last 3, Vayne, Tristana, Kalista, all 3 of them are not very good at the moment because they're pure damage. You can win a game with them if you're good enough with the champion, but they aren't really fitting into Season 6 very much. We've seen a major shift to utility and early damage this season. These Ghost, Blade, and Armor Pen builds are there specifically because they are better at 1 items and probably still 2 items, to be honest. They might not stand up late game, but games are decided much earlier now. Honestly, our games are just also filled with other carry picks, which mean we don't always have to supply the damage to end the game. We don't have tanks everywhere like we did last season. We can just arrow or slow to let our team catch them and let them kill people. This is also finally why Kalista is so crap right now. She's not as good as a champion anyway right now. We've gone over that already, but she doesn't have utility really. She can't really keep herself safe either. Sure, you can kite. You're probably one of the best kiters in the game, but slows, crowd control, AoE damage, divers, all of them make it much harder. They're all more popular in Season 6, and she doesn't have that early damage that scales into mid-game as well. The game has actually changed a lot this season with dynamic queue and everything else. League is becoming much more of a team game, and that means AD carries have to adapt. The ones we've seen adapt the best are the ones who can be a team player, right? They don't have to force their team to play around them. They can still carry when required to, but they can also sit back and look after themselves, can quietly damage people without needing help. They aren't going to be these balls to the wall damage AD carries, and we can see that normally Riot are quick to nerf them like Corki or Lucian. I'm honestly fine with that as an AD player, but in this case, these pure damage ADs don't fit much unless they bring something unique. In my opinion, there are a few champions who are going to need some changes if Riot keeps heading in this direction, which to be honest, they probably will. Tristana's niche is tower killing and a late game carry. I think that's what Riot intended her to be. Anyway, Riot sped up the game though, so you can't just rely on reaching late game now, but they also reworked Caitlyn to do a better job of sieging than her. Sure, Tristana kills towers faster, but Caitlyn can trap to zone away and actually be more effective at getting the towers overall. She can also output a lot more damage earlier into the game. Corki is supposed to be an AD carry, right, but was moved to the mid lane more after his rework because he scales with levels a lot better than items, and you get solo experience in a solo lane, obviously, which makes him a bit more useful there. There was a time when he was the most overpowered AD carry in Season 6 because of his burst damage, but then Riot swung the nerf bat a few times, and similar to Kalista, they just don't know what to do with him. An AD carry who plays like a mage, but they don't want him to play like a mage, and they don't want us to stack crit on him either and play him like an AD carry, so I'm not sure what they're aiming for. After the change to Triforce, he has literally disappeared from everywhere, and he's probably just as bad as Kalista right now. I think AD carries in general are in a really good spot right now, but especially Corki, Tristana, and Kalista don't fit with what Riot are trying to do, and in my opinion, are going to need to be changed at some point down the line. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed enjoyed this video. A bit different to my usual style for sure, but this is something I really wanted to talk about. Remember to share, like, subscribe if you did enjoy the video, but for now, let's go to the robots.